This was supposed to be relaxing.
As I lay here, I wonder, is going camping really worth it, or just a waste of time and money?
Instead, it turned into the loudest night of my life. For someone on the spectrum, either the best adventure or a complete sensory overload.
If you're autistic like me, you know that change can break you. So was going camping a big step out of comfortable, familiar routines even worth it? And is camping really a way to ground you? Or will it send your nervous system into a spiral? I thought it would be peaceful, but my brain had other plans.
So, I'm here at Barnacle Provincial Park, and as I head to the bathroom, I'm not exactly feeling the greatest. I have a mild headache because I didn't sleep too well last night. And I'll admit, as a person with autism, it's not easy sleeping in this kind of environment because, yeah, I've been camping before, but I'm not used to it. But you know what? There's always the next night, and today's a new day, so yeah, let's go exploring.
But hey, look on the bright side. At least I got a bunch of photos and videos. Now, you may ask, why did I decide to make a video about sensory overload during a camping trip? I mean, after all, camping is like something that's supposed to be, calm and quiet and, the exact opposite of like an overwhelming environment. Well, for one thing, where I live, at least, and most of Canada, a lot of provincial and national parks, well, they mostly consist of, campgrounds that are mostly drive-in campsites, and so because of that, if you go camping here in Canada, you'll notice that, a lot of your fellow campers are likely to be families with kids and people just making a lot of noise in general. And so if you're used to sleeping in the comfort of your own bed, or if you're the kind of person who just, prefers quiet places in general, then I would say from personal experience that going camping in a provincial or national park or state park, at least if there's a lot of drive-in campsites, is somewhere where you're actually likely to get sensory overload. But since context will be a critical part of this video, the first thing we should do is explain what is sensory overload. So, according to Autism Speaks, sensory issues are common in people with autism and are even included in the diagnostic criteria for autism spectrum disorder. Each autistic person is unique, and this includes their personal sensory sensitivities. So, people with autism might have sensitivities to sights, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, balance, awareness of body position and movement, or awareness of internal body cues and sensations. And sensory overload happens when an intense sensory stimulus overwhelms your ability to cope. Many people with autism show certain behaviors when they experience sensory overload, such as escalating, overwhelming emotions, or a need to escape a situation. But if you're autistic and you're still considering a camping trip of your own, well, I have some tips that might help you, so listen up. Firstly, bring sleeping aids such as melatonin or Dayvigo. This is helpful if you're worried about losing sleep in an unfamiliar environment. Number 2. Bring an eye mask, especially if there are no blackout curtains in your tent or trailer. Number 3. Meditate. Number 4. Bring a journal. If you struggle with noisy brain, then trust me, you'll want this on a camping trip when you want to empty your mind, especially before bed. Number 5. Bring earplugs for drive-in campgrounds. Number 6. Go for walks to clear your mind. Finally, number 7. Put this away. You're there to experience nature, not to go scrolling on your phone for several hours. So, except for photos and essential calls, put the phone away and just enjoy the scenery around you. That's what you're there for. And now, I'm going to tell you about some of the sensory overload experiences I had on this trip that tie directly into this. Now, the clip where I talked about me having a headache because I didn't sleep well the night before, that was in part caused by the fact that the campground was so noisy with, kids running around making noise. And because of that, I just wasn't able to fall asleep, and so I was constantly tossing and turning in my sleeping bag for 5 hours. I turned on my lamp at various points in the night to try and, force my brain to shut down so I could fall asleep. I read a book, I was journaling down random thoughts, but sadly none of it worked. because my brain was so overloaded with all the stuff that was going on around me. Like, I expected this camping trip to be nice and peaceful, but like, there's kids running around, there's, you know, lights coming from other campsites, there's noise of the occasional car. Yeah, it's definitely not my idea of like a quiet environment I'd be able to fall asleep in. And another example is this hiking trail that I'm climbing down from. So yeah, me and my dad had just finished going all the way up to the top, and I'm carefully trying to navigate my way down with him. But this was also like a moment of sensory overload for me, because I had to like be completely vigilant the entire time and, you know, be careful not to trip and fall or anything like that. So this required, you know, much more, you know, attention and care than I normally use in my daily life, except when I'm, you know, at work. And this was also, you know, a bit of an overwhelming experience, because, I mean, I was trying to focus on what's going on in front of me, but, like, at the same time, my brain is also racing with, you know, a lot of thoughts. Like, you know, I'm trying to enjoy the scenery of the park. If I had gotten distracted for even a second, I could have tripped and fallen at any moment. And another example was, you know, when I woke up in the morning or I got back from the beach and me and my dad went into our tent to change. Like, instead of like going through my bag and trying to pull out a, you know, a different set of clothes to wear for that day, I would just insist on wearing the same clothes I wore yesterday. It's, yeah, partly because of laziness, but also because I just didn't want to deal with, you know, having to go through my bag and dig through all my clothes and choose a different set to wear for that day. Instead, I just chose what was familiar to me, like more comfortable to me, because I didn't want to get, you know, overwhelmed by, you know, the choice of clothes and then potentially having to clean up afterwards. And even when I went on a simple hiking trail with my dad, you know, I still was not immune to sensory overload, because, yeah, it's, again, just like, you know, the hiking trail that you see in this video. It's like all the hiking trails in this park, you know, they had a lot of rocks. You know, I had to be very careful not to trip and fall or anything, and, you know, it was just, you know, overwhelming at times, you know, trying to focus for that long of a period of time. And not only that, but again, it also didn't help that, you know, my brain tends to race very easily with, you know, random kinds of thoughts. And so I did have my moments of peace, but there were also struggles too. And so now that I've said all of that, would I go camping again? Well, yes, because I've learned lessons that I can carry with me, you know, the next time I go camping. And not only that, but whether it's a camping trip like somewhere overseas or somewhere else in your country or wherever, traveling is something that everyone should at least try to do multiple times per year if they can afford it. You know, we're not meant to be, you know, working all our lives. Instead, we're made to, like, you know, get out there, like, you know, see the world around us and have experiences. So don't hesitate to book that camping trip, but just remember, as with anything, be prepared. Although it doesn't seem obvious, camping does not always soothe your nervous system. In fact, sometimes it can trigger it in ways you didn't expect. But that doesn't mean it's not worth doing. The good news is, I learned lessons, and I learned how I can be better prepared the next time I go on a camping trip. And most of all, I pushed my limits in a way that helped me grow and find peace. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever done something that should have been calming but wasn't? Have you ever pushed your limits? Let me know your story down below. I read every comment. And if this helped you prepare for a camping trip, then check out my other video on why distractions ruin your day, especially if you're autistic. Go watch it. It might save you hours of lost time.